Let the phoenix rise. That is the title of today's soft talk. Welcome to the program. During the September 8-9 protest that brought a very fragile Nepal to her knees in roughly 48 hours, a gullible, a gullible Nepali laity, that is Praja in our parlance, literally, this Praja witnessed the toppling of an elected government in an unprecedented turn of events in global history. The three organs of the state, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, they just fell like a house of cards, and flames of fury did not even spare the fourth organ, notwithstanding the globally accepted rule of the game that one should not suit the messenger even if they don't like the masses, along with the offices of other private businesses. That is, a day after the killing of and injuries to several protesters. What were these protesters demanding? They were not calling for the moon. They were demanding an immediate lifting of the social media ban, an end to chronic corruption, nepotism, bad governance, and the beginning of an era of good governance and accountability, a long cherished dream of Nepalese across generations. At this point, it is important to note that even during the decade-long insurgency, which claimed thousands of lives, caused injuries to a good number of people, to several people, hundreds of people, caused infrastructural losses amounting to billions of rupees, and pushed the country decades back in terms of development and growth. The three organs of the state had stood intact by and large. This fact aside, think about the beyond border ecosystem that must have been put in place to launch and sustain a brutal campaign against a country and her peoples. The fact that the two-day protest caused infrastructural losses on an unprecedented scale and almost brought about a regime change of sorts. Remember, an unconstitutional move on the part of a ceremonial head of the state keeps this regime in a vegetative state to this day. This shows how fragile Nepal has become. It is indeed worrisome that those who should have learned hard lessons from the insurgency, if not from the uprisings and subsequent epochal changes of 1950 and 90, these characters, their failure to learn hard lessons from the past, have proved to be like disastrous. These people have proved to be very poor learners, much to the detriment of the country and her peoples. If those who matter the most still do not learn hard lessons, and if they fail to mend their ways, time is sure to wound those heals the most. That is, imagine also the serious preparations that must have gone on to torch not only the three principal organs of the state, but also to literally obliterate subnational bodies across the length and breadth of this country. In this day and age of fast changing technological landscape, one needs no expert to note that it is impossible to set large infrastructure like Singadarbar, the Supreme Court, and the Parliament on fire just like that. You need human resources with the technological know-how, of course, explosives and other ingredients for executing such a sinister design, right? Let's hope that our competent law enforcement agencies manage to conduct a free, fair, and conclusive probe, and based on their findings, put no nonsense measures in place to drastically reduce chances of recurrence of such events. 5 months into the death and devastation, Nepal is recovering fast, leaving behind dreaded days of anarchy and lawlessness and gearing up for elections slated for March 5. Even the contemporary history of this old country shows that we have a region like Phoenix from the ashes of death and destruction resulting from natural and not so natural disasters. We have region like that proverbial phoenix from natural and unnatural disasters. Given our never say die spirit and global goodwill, that is tremendous. There's every reason to believe that we will rise again from the ashes sooner than later, that is. If that spirit of ours has dampened a bit, how about doing something to revive it? How about organizing an international concert in the ruins by inviting the maestros from around the world to give the message to give the masses that Nepal, the embodiment of the fertile plains, verdant hills, and the majestic Himalayas, the common home of Buddha, numerous other enlightened beings, gods and goddesses, is at peace with herself and the rest of the world, and ready as ever to soar like the Himalayas once again. How about inviting friends and well wishers from around the world to become a part of this wonderful journey? With this, I wrap up this edition of Soft Talk. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.